Welcome everyone to day 4 of our Chill and Create series. Today, our topic is my excuses and barriers, which is it's a complicated topic. And I think when I'm working with clients, I know that everyone's barriers and excuses can look different. And I want to start today by just acknowledging that every single human being in the world has a different capacity, has a different reality for life and for motherhood. And that capacity and reality can be influenced by a number of factors. And some of those factors might include work schedules, relationships, neurodiversity, the number of children you have, the number of support people you have in your life, your natural ability to cope and pivot and feel that resilience. And I think sometimes we can confuse our excuses for our capabilities and our capacity. And so whether a person has the strength or the capacity to go to a Christmas dinner can be influenced by a lot of different things. You might not have the capacity to go to something and then view that as an excuse. And so I'm gonna give you an example. My family of origin has some complicated history with family functions and in-laws and views of how we operate and how other people operate. And it can be challenging to be in those situations when other people are not being heard or seen as they truly are. So when you're at a family function and your family of origin has a particular way of doing things, talking about things, gender roles, children and their level of respect or disrespect or temperament. And when you bring in-laws or partners or, say your cousin's husband's grandma is going to come to a family function or something. And it can be challenging for someone like me, who's highly sensitive, to be in situations where people are holding a lot of emotions or holding back a lot of the things that they would like to say or have expectations on children that feel a little bit unreasonable. So it can be challenging to engage in a family function like that. So is that an excuse or is that me honoring my capacity? So it depends. That's why this topic and why it's really layered to talk about barriers and excuses when we consider the topic of taking care of ourselves. Am I taking care of myself by not going to Christmas dinner? Or am I using it as an excuse to not deal with maybe some things that need to be dealt with? And that is just discernible in your own life. I would say sometimes I'm honoring my capacity, and other times I'm using it as an excuse to not do a hard thing or to not practice resilience or to not practice things that I've learned in terms of interpersonal relationships. So I just want to give you that kind of food for thought when we're talking about the barriers, excuses, capacities to take care of yourself. And by take care of yourself, I hope that for those of you who are watching the replay, who do know me, and maybe we've had a conversation before, I've just lost my train of thought. Absolutely gone. Oh, I would hope that you understand that when I say taking care of yourself, I don't mean fluffy self-care, right? Like there is no number of hot baths that is going to cure distress in a relationship. It's just not. And so when I talk about taking care of yourself, I mean like the work that is directly related to the stressors in your life. So um, many of you who are watching this replay have probably heard me talk about how much I love the Burnout book by the Nagoski sisters. And it's amazing. I love that book. And so they're like main, if I could give you like the most Cliff Notes version of this book, is that the way that you take care of your stress in the stress cycle, the way that you take care of it has to directly relate to the stressor itself. So a hot bath might make me feel better, but it doesn't actually solve the problems in my relationship. And those problems, issues, miscommunications, whatever we're dealing with, are going to continue to happen. Doesn't matter if I have 100 baths a day. That's not going to make, it's going to make maybe my nervous system feel better, but the pattern and the stress cycle is going to continue in that way. So as I talk about excuses and barriers, outside of the like larger conundrum that I just put in front of you, is it an excuse, or am I allowing my capacity to be honored right now? I just want to give a name to a few of the things that are actual excuses or actual barriers to self-care beyond the, am I honoring my capacity? So one, the belief that self-care is selfish. Self-care is not selfish. It's actually probably one of the most selfless things that a person can do, to take care of themselves in order to show up better for others. And this can be a spectrum. So this morning in our one of my mom's groups, one of the moms had said that her partner is extremely selfish. He has no problems taking care of himself, none whatsoever. And so on the spectrum of selfish or not selfish, I think we have to acknowledge that the amount of self-care that we take also has to match our reality. So a partner who goes golfing every single weekend might be taking advantage of his opportunities for self-care, when the other partner has no self-care whatsoever, or no opportunities, or no time for it. So we have to kind of acknowledge that within the, is self-care selfish question. Okay, so that's the first kind of point that I want to point out. The second point in taking care of ourselves and our excuses and our barriers are, everybody needs different levels of care. And I posted on Instagram a few weeks ago all these quotes about alone time, and I'm working on a how do we actually get alone time blog. And one of my loyal followers messaged me and she said, but I feel bad for being the kind of person who needs more alone time than other people do. And so I think we also need to acknowledge in the reasons why we don't take care of ourselves, that we all need different things. I am an only child who grew up in a single parent household, and I am now raising two boys who use my living room as a jungle gym. And everything is dinosaurs, and everything is a sword, and everything is like loud and next level. I need more alone time because my nervous system will literally snap in half if I am around too much noise like that. I need to remove myself. I don't want them to stop being noisy or to stop being themselves, because I don't want that for them. I mean, I would really like my living room not to be trashed, but that's a whole nother thing in itself. I need to take the alone time that my system needs. And what my system needs is very different than what you need or your partner needs, or your mother-in-law needs. Everyone's system is different. Okay. The ultimate barrier to self-care, in my opinion, is that women think that they have to work for it or deserve it before they get it. So I don't deserve self-care because my kids need me. I don't deserve to take time for myself because what does that mean about me as a mother? I don't deserve self-care because I worked all week, and so I should want to be with my kids. And while all of that can be true, self-care is essential. Essential. I know that when I am taking care of myself, I show up as a better mom. I show up better in my relationship. I show up better at work. I am better able to handle the daily grind and the stressors when I take that time. It's not something I deserve. It's not a reward for hard work. In North America, we have a very skewed views on what self-care is. In European countries, it's not something that you deserve or you bust your ass for all week so that you can do nothing on the weekend, right? Like it's part of life, taking care of yourself and slowing that pace down. And so those are kind of the three main things. And I'll summarize them as this. It is not selfish to take care of yourself. You need to honor what is happening for you in your system and what you need, and that might be different than somebody else and the needs of others. You don't have to earn self-care as number 3. You don't get a gold star. We're not talking about reward systems here. It's not something you have to earn. And the fourth that I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about today is the idea of I don't have time. And I just want to acknowledge that in some cases, in some phases of life, in some contexts of relationships, I don't have time is true. People who have to commute, marginalized populations, people who have mental illness, people who have physical illness, there are legitimate circumstances in which people don't have time. The I don't have time aspect that I want to focus on today is, what are you spending all your time on so that you don't have time to take care of yourself? I saw a post the other day and it really resonated with me, and it was by I think it was a doula group, and they said the point of whether a shower is self-care or not is not the point. The point is how that shower makes someone feel. When you are 4 months postpartum and you are leaking and still bleeding, a shower could mean self-care. It could, absolutely. I have said, I feel 1,000 times better now that I've had a shower. So that's not the point of whether a shower is deemed self-care or not. For some people it is. For other people, it's like, no, that's just basic hygiene and I need to make time for that. The I don't have time thing, the issue I have with it is that I say we as in people who would identify with this story, we spend a lot of time scrolling social media, over researching things from a place of anxiety or fear. We spend a lot of time dress rehearsing tragedy and creating stories in our minds about who or how someone shows up for us, or how much they care about us, or how invested they are in our relationship. We spend a lot of time doing those things. And so it's not a matter of, I don't have time. It's maybe the time that you are spending on things is not the time you'd like to spend on them. And you'd rather spend time taking care of yourself, being creative, meditating, going for a walk by yourself. So I don't have time to focus on myself can be true, but I want you to really, really be honest with yourself about if that specific excuse and or barrier is true for you. Because when I find myself saying I don't have time, it's often that I'm saying yes to things that I'd rather say no to. It's often that I'm losing myself in not joyous screen time, because there's a difference. If you're getting joy from screen time, then 100%, let's do it. But if we're doing it out of a reaction, an impulse, or just a natural rhythm, like I read a study the other day, the average person picks up their phone 100 times an hour. And I don't know what this, like, I didn't totally read the whole thing, but it was like, that was the conclusion, was like, we came to the conclusion that the majority of the people in our study picked up their phone 100 times an hour. And I was like, that statistic is insane. There's only 60 minutes in an hour. That means the people in this population group were picking up their phones basically every 45 seconds. Whether that's to check the time, to dismiss a text, or, you know, whatever it is. Can you imagine putting that time into something else? Like, my screen time, because I use my phone for work, it's hard to know what screen time I'm actually doing for personal and what I'm doing for business. So my screen time is roughly 3 hours a day. And I do billing, and I do Instagram posts, and I do all kinds of things from my phone. So I have to put that into context, right? So when I think about the time that I spend on my screen, even if half of that is personal time, an hour and a half a day, which I also read a study the other day that the average person spends 6 hours a day on screen time. So I'm actually considerably less in the average person. Okay. And so when we consider that even if an hour and a half of that could be changed, what would I rather do with that hour and a half? Maybe I would actually have more capacity to be patient with my kids. Maybe I would be less irritable for them interrupting me doing something. Maybe I could actually fold an entire load of laundry without it taking an hour and a half, because I'm not constantly like texting people and folding the laundry and making supper and, you know, like doing all the things. So while I believe that there are very reasonable reasons why mothers don't have time to spend the time to chill, when I get into the nitty-gritties of this with clients, we can often find very few real reasons why they don't have time. Because when it comes down to it, we can find these pockets of time just for making all kinds of excuses or putting up barriers to it. So that's my kind of preamble to today's exercise. And I want to just start off by saying that if you're not in a place where you can do some expressive art right now, I would say take some time to gather, either just even a notebook and a pen would be great, for what we're about to do next in the I have barriers and I have excuses about taking care of myself. And what I'd like you to do is I'm going to have a kind of an unfacilitated moment of about, I'm going to put on a timer for like 3 minutes where I just want you to sit. I want you to sit in the quiet, just with your notebook and your journal, or if you've got art materials today, great. And I just want you to sit in the quiet for 3 minutes. And then I want you to spend 5 minutes journaling or doodling or sketching, just for the fun of it, because you're already here and you've already committed to listen to me talk. Okay. So I'm going to set a timer, 3 minutes of quiet, and then 5 minutes of journaling or just doodling or sketching, mark making on your paper. Okay. I'm going to set a timer starting now. Okay. That was 3 minutes of quiet. And next, I just thought I would give some context to the journaling and or the art making in this spontaneous way. So what I want you to do is uncensored, just start writing or just start doodling. And whatever you make is whatever you make in this moment. Whatever and whatever materials you have. Like I said, I'm likely going to just do this on a Post-it with a pen because I don't have a lot of materials just right here, and I want to be able to show you that this kind of art release can be done with very simple materials. So 5 minutes, uncensored, writing, journaling, or just mark making on your paper. 5 minutes. So find a stopping place with whatever you were doing. And I just want you to feel into your body right now and how you feel. Sometimes we just need to allow ourselves 5 minutes to doodle, 5 minutes to get our thoughts down on paper, 5 minutes to just like slow that pace and bring it back in. I know that you don't have time. I know. I do. I know that it's easier to do what is comfortable and easy. I know that it can be hard to ask for what you need. I know that it can be hard when you feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. I know that taking care of yourself is hard. It's challenging. There are barriers and there are excuses, some of them unintentioned. When I became a mom, I thought the best thing for my kids was for me to just drop everything, to be for them, to be with them, to be there for them, to meet their needs. And like I said yesterday, my need to get stuff done and my perfectionist tendencies and what I now know was perinatal mood disorder, OCD, was stopping me from enjoying that time, not even when they were babies, but even now. I can tell myself that a clean house is higher on the priority list than getting down and playing on the floor, or the need to do whatever is more important. And then they go to bed, and then all I want to do is relive the memories from the day. And I want to hear their giggles, and I want to look at their faces. And I know that's a bit of a dichotomy because I've heard many mothers say, like you just want to get to the end of the day so that they're sleeping. And then when they're sleeping, you just like go through your camera roll of all the things that you did that day, or you want to hear their sweet little voice say, I love you, if you happen to record that, or, and so I do truly understand the reasons why mothers don't take care of themselves, whatever their reality, whatever their context. And I also know that when we don't take care of ourselves, when we don't follow those creative urges, when we don't slow it down for a moment of quiet, when we don't squeeze in that yoga class or going swimming by yourself, whatever your thing is, I also know that starts a kind of resentment, especially when your partner maybe doesn't have a problem with taking care of themselves and doesn't have to think about childcare and doesn't have to think about all the other things that it takes for you to take care of yourself. So I understand the complexities of it. But at the end of the day, those moments, if you think back to your own moments of when you have taken care of yourself, how you felt after, you deserve that. You deserve that feeling at whatever frequency it needs to come. And I want to close our discussion today, because I could go on and on, especially if we had a conversation about this. As most of you know, I could talk about these things till the cows come home. So I want to close with reading you a poem. It's quite a lengthy one. And so sometimes I actually like to treat this one as kind of a meditation. So if you'd like to close your eyes while I talk, I encourage you to do that. But if not, that's fine too. And so the poem is called Imagine a Woman by Patricia Riley. Imagine a woman who believes it is right and good that she is a woman who honors her experience and tells her stories, who refuses to carry the sins of others within her body and life, a woman who trusts and respects herself, a woman who listens to her needs and desires, and who meets them with tenderness and grace. Imagine a woman who acknowledges the past's influence on the present. A woman who has walked through her past and healed into her present. Imagine a woman who authors her own life. A woman who exerts, initiates, and moves on her own behalf. Who refuses to surrender except to her truest and wisest voice. Imagine a woman who names her own gods, a woman who imagines the divine in her own image and likeness, who designs a personal spirituality to inform her daily life. Imagine a woman in love with her own body, who believes her body is enough just as it is, who celebrates its rhythms and cycles and as an exquisite resource. Imagine a woman who honors the body of the goddess within her own changing body, who celebrates the accumulation of years and her wisdom, who refuses to use her life's energy disguising the changes in her body and life. Imagine a woman who values the women in her life, a woman who sits in circles of women, who is reminded of the truth about herself when she forgets. Imagine yourself as this woman. Imagine a woman who is interested in her own life, a woman who embraces her life as teacher, healer, and challenge, who is grateful for the ordinary moments of beauty and grace. Imagine a woman who participates in her own life, a woman who meets each challenge with creativity, who takes action on her own behalf with clarity and strength. Imagine a woman who has crafted a fully formed solitude, a woman who is available to herself, who chooses friends and lovers with the capacity to respect her solitude. Imagine a woman who acknowledges the full range of human emotions and who expresses her feelings clearly and directly, who allows them to pass through her as naturally as her breath. Imagine a woman who tells the truth, a woman who trusts her experience of the world and expresses it, who refuses to refer to the perceptions and thoughts and responses of others. Imagine a woman who follows her creative impulses, who produces original creations, who refuses to color inside someone else's lines. Imagine a woman who has relinquished the desire for intellectual approval. A woman who makes a powerful statement with every action she takes, who asserts to herself the right to reorder the world. Imagine a woman who has grown in the knowledge and love of herself. A woman who has vowed faithfulness to her own life, who remains loyal to herself, regardless. Imagine yourself as this woman. Patricia Lynn Riley. And so, in conclusion to the my barriers and my excuses, I want you to really think about what are the barriers and excuses you're putting in front of your own self-care. The kind of self-care that really matters, that really makes a difference in your life. Like I said, whether the shower is deemed as self-care or not is in the eye of the person who's taking the shower. And so before we go today, I'd like you to make a promise to yourself that you will take care of yourself in one way, shape, or form today. I know it's 3:30 and you might not have a lot of time left in the day and you got supper to make and the evening routine and all the things. But I want you to make the time to do something just for you. And if this counts, then this counts. You've already done it. But if you'd like to read a book or journal or bake muffins or clean your basement, whatever, move one step in the direction of taking care of yourself because you're worth it. And I know you can find the time. Thanks for being here today. I'll see you again soon.